Good morning. Well, at least it's morning here in the Midwest, St. Louis, Missouri. It's cold November morning, but good morning to you. We can get going. First of all, though, I need to reiterate what we've been doing. Make sure everybody understands this is for beginners. Okay, and again, without knowing what the audience is, it's very, very hard to put something together. If you went through lesson number 1, parts 1 and 2, and you're confused, remember this is not a course on what each instruction does. To do that, you really need to go back to start, get your environment set up, as we talked about before. And if you want to know what the instructions do and need help with that, I suggest you watch this series with Steve Bajorek, okay? I'll have a link to this in the bottom. It's a 10 or 12 part series. Go through the first 10 parts and understand what each instruction does. Will be very, very helpful. Until then, and then go back through our lesson 1 and see how good that turns out. Okay, so for today we're going to do kind of pretty much what we've done in the past. Nothing exciting, just some basic, here's how we do stuff simply by using BASIC as the tool to put stuff on the screen for us. We go through another lesson or two, we'll quit using BASIC for a lot of this stuff, and we'll rewrite the stuff like our locate, our print line. We'll write that ourselves. We'll write it straight to this screen as opposed to using BASIC doing it for us. Okay, that'll be coming up. So we need to get through a few lessons, learning good practice, coding practices, and we'll get there. What today we're going to do here, I'm going to run here. Let me bring this up. Okay, we're going to do another simple one like we've done in the past. So I'm going to run this basic program, and there's our assignment for the day. I was hoping to get this in one part, but I think it's going to take 2 parts because I want to make sure we explain it in very, very much detail so that everyone understands. Very few comments. I haven't received any emails, only 1 or 2 comments, 1 or 2 likes. So I don't know if anybody's listening, using, or cares about this. But that's what we're going to do today. That's a basic program that just prints stuff to the screen. We're going to do the same thing with assembler language. You know, it's probably just as easy to do this in BASIC, but if you want to learn assembler, that's a good place to start. Okay, here's the same version that we're doing with the assembler language. So without further ado, let me bring up the code that we're going to be looking at. Okay, this is pretty much almost the same stuff as we did in part 2 last time, but we'll take a quick look. We've included our common file that we talked about in the last installment, which is all the normal basic variables, routines, our colors, our attributes, and here's our program. First thing we're going to do is going to, same as we did last time, we're going to copy our palette that we're going to work with, go to a width 40 screen, and we're going to put 7 lines on the screen. Each one we're going to do a column, a row, locate that for our attributes, save the attribute, get the address of our message, and put it on the screen. We're going to do 7 of them messages, okay? Just same thing. And here's our 7 messages. Okay, here's our palette that we're going to use. So same boring stuff that we did last time. This is just a basic start. Let's look at this. The second one we're going to look at. We're going to upgrade this just a little bit. Pretty much the same outline of the program. We'll go down through the palette, putting our stuff on the screen. Same 6. Okay, then we get down here to the 7th line. Well, here's our 6th line, which is normal what we've been doing. Now the 7th line looks a little bit more, it's a little bit less instructions, as you can see. Okay, so wow, well, this looks kind of different. But if you do the same thing repetitively for line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, say, oh, that sounds like something to be good for a subroutine. So what we're doing here is we're putting together a subroutine. Okay, in the normal way we done was loading up register A with our column, our row in B, and jump to locate. Here we're loading up X, okay, with our column and row. You say, well, I don't understand what this piece of this is. Okay, we're going to take our our column, and multiply it by a hex 100 or 256. That will give us the higher. I'm going to move this over just a little bit so you can see how this comes out. Okay, let's go back up a line here. Our column was 15. Load A with 15. You can see that 15 is 0F in hex. Our row is 12 or 0C in hex. Down here, all we're doing is let the compiler put our row and our column and row in the same one. So here's our 0F, that's our 15, and 14 is 0E. So understand that again, by multiplying this by hex 100, we're basically shoving them bits over by 8. Okay, so there we have column and row. Load up our attribute, load up the message we want to print, and branch to our new subroutine called print line. Okay, with print line, it stores what we put in A into our attribute. We transfer what we put in X, which was the column and row, over to D, jump subroutine to locate it, transfer what we put in U, which was the address of the message, and jump to print line. Now, you might look at that and say, well, couldn't we do this a little bit different and not move these registers around? The problem we have here is right here, this jump subroutine locate. When you go to that routine, it will destroy what you have in register X. So therefore we can't put the message in X, we put it in U. Once we come back from locate and that register is destroyed, then we transfer D over to X and print line. Other than that, we could do that for all of them. So I put some code down here. Code below does not get executed. These are just other examples how we could have done the subroutines. And you can look at them and see if you can, and look at them and see exactly what we did you could have done to make the subroutine different. Okay, got example 1, we'll do some stuff and branch to this print line here. Again, this code doesn't get executed. It's just in here for you to look at some possible ways of doing them subroutines. There's always more than usually one way to do something. Right. One other thing we could have done is you'll see in here, we know that column on this one example, all right, this one here, the example 3, we did not put column in here. We know that column is always going to be 15, so we're going to keep that for the subroutine. Another way to do that was we'll equate our column to a 15, and when we load X, we'll do underscore column times 256, which will give us our 0F 0E. Okay, with that, what helped it with, if you decide to change where you want the stuff to print on the screen, say you didn't want in column 15 anymore, you want it in column 7. Okay, with having it the old way or the original way, you have to go back and change in every one of these lines that column to a 7. By doing it, scroll down here, but this way here, we changed this one statement from 15 to 7, reassembled it, and we've moved everything over to column 7. Just another coding way to get stuff done. All right, let's take a look at, we find the correct. Okay. All right, you're going to see it's going to come out exactly the same way. Okay, the first 6 lines we did the old way, and the 7th line we did the new way. Not overexciting, but again, that's just some more coding. I'm going to say examples, tricks, whatever you may want to call them. All right, well, let's go on to the next outlook here. All right, this is the 3rd iteration of the same stuff. Again, the beginning is all the same. Now, here's our new code. After we go to a 40 character, we load up U to line and branch subroutine. Whoa, what happened to all that? Load this, load that, load this. We're going to move down and put them all into the subroutine. So, okay, let's look at the subroutine. Okay, we'll get some remarks up here. Enter with column, row, attribute, and address pointer and register U, which we was doing each one of these lines up here. We loaded up register U and branch to our subroutine. Okay, what do we know that is common for this whole for this subroutine? Let's take a look at what we have here. All right, we printed out 7 lines. We started in row 2 in column 15 and went down 2 lines, 2 lines, 2 lines. So we know we're starting in column 15, starting in column 2, and incrementing it by 2. So we know that's the common stuff we have, so that will help us in our subroutine. Let's go down here and look at what these lines have. And I'm going to pick out any one of them here. Excuse me. Let's look at line 3 here. It says we're going to create 3 bytes in FCBs, column, row plus some numbers, and an attribute. All right, let's back up here just a little bit. Some equates we put in here. Things we know. We know column starts in 15. We know row starts in, the first one was row 2, and we're spacing them down every 2 lines. So as we look at this, we've got column. I'm going to move this over just a little bit so we can see what the compiled code looks like. Excuse me. So our underscore column, which is column 15, which we look over here in the assembled code, we have 0f in hex, which is 15. Next we have underscore row plus 2 times row spacing. Okay, so 2 times the row spacing, and the row spacing was 2, so 2 times 2 is 4. So the very first row plus 4, which means that would be on line 6. Okay, it compiled to 0.6. And our attributes, which was red plus black, I believe it was, and that compiles out to 2A. That is followed by what is test line 3, which is right next to that. So each one of these is for each row, and they all have this times in them. The first one, 0 times row space, is 0, so it really didn't need it, but for consistency and look and ease of what we're doing, I put that in there. So when we get to our code, register U is pointing, we'll go down here, is pointing right there. Okay, at that 0F0270. All right, we're going to load up register D with whichever U is pointing to. In this case, it was 0F02, and that is our column and row, which we want in A and B for our locate. Once it loads it up, remember our post bytes is plus is bump register U by 2 spaces. We'll do our jump subroutine to locate. That'll move our cursor where we need it. U has been moved up. Go down here again. We started here. We bumped it up by 2. Now we're sitting right here on this 70. We're going to load A, which is our attribute, and bump U by 1. So U will now bump down here to this first line. So we store our attribute. We transfer U now over to register X, because that's what jump subroutine requires X to be in that register. And we do a jump subroutine put line. It will put this line here, test line 1, on the screen. Return sub. We go back to our code up here. we'll load up the address of line 2, come back to our subroutine, and we're now pointing here. Same thing over again. We got our column, our row, our attribute, and spacing. Okay, we can go through each one of these here, but they're the same all the way down through. All 7 lines are the same. Excuse me. And when we're done, this is kind of consistent here. This here just puts a cursor down at the bottom of the screen and puts it back to the normal black and white screen. So, and we're done. Okay. Now, if we look at, we probably really don't need to do this, but we'll do it anyway. Get over here on the correct screen. We'll look at what we just, the subroutine and how it worked. Oops. Type that correctly. Let's try that. Okay, it just looks the same. There's no difference in the other ones we did, other than we just got our code easier to manage and a lot simpler to change. Now, if you look at when you were doing it, if you looked at some, I put some changes out here. This is for you to do with your, oops, I give you the wrong screen. Sorry about that. When I showed you this column and row and space equates, I put a note out there for you to do on your own. Change this to a 7, change this one to a 1, and this one to a 2. That means you'll put them in column 7, we'll start in row 1, and skip down 3 lines. Okay, and I also, back up at the top, I would also put in here, right here, change this one here to column 80 width. So you can do column 80 width and change these here, and you have a completely different look. Just by changing them few lines, you completely look at what the screen looks like. I don't know what I am on time right now, so I'm going to check it out. I'm going to stop. I may start this video. I might go to a part 2, but I need to check my times on this, so I will be back. Okay, questions or comments, you can leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. You can also email me with the address on the screen, or you can leave comments or questions on Discord, under COCO Discord, under Assembly with George J, and I will try to answer everybody's questions. So there you go.